How do you get more of what you want without sacrificing what you already have? That's what we're talking about. And more importantly, I want you to identify what it is that you want and whether or not you are not able to get it because of some of these things that I'm going to be talking about today. If you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh, and I am a business sales and wealth strategist, a married mama of two, and a kingdom business builder. So, today's topic, I think, is an important one because too often when clients come to work with me, they are already doing great things in the world, right? They're wanting to go from good to great or good to better and better. So what needs to happen when you are already at a certain level in your life, in your career, in your business, in your relationship, and you want to elevate yourself and continue to grow, continue to evolve, continue to improve? And as a very ambitious, high achieving woman, I know that there are certain things about you that may get in the way. So, how do you identify before we even get any like into the meat of this? Here's what I want us to kind of uncover or unpack. I want you to identify if you feel stuck or trapped or unable to move forward. I want you to know that if you have a goal, if you have a dream, if you have a desire, and your life is pretty good, your business is pretty good, your situation is pretty good, right? And you're wondering, but what more could I be doing? How much more do I desire to have or be or do? And there's still something that is pulling you forward. And yet at the same time, it's almost like you're driving with your foot on the gas, but also at the same time, you have the other foot on the brakes, right? Like imagine if you're trying to drive in a car and you have the gas pedal down and you have the brake pedal down. You wouldn't be able to go very far, even though there's a lot of effort and a lot of energy that's being exerted, not only by you as the driver, but ultimately by your car. You wouldn't get very far, at least not very quickly. And it can be frustrating because when you are exerting all of this effort and energy and you're using up resources, whether they're your own, whether it's part of your teams, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's all of them, and to be able to see that you're not making as much progress as maybe what you've already had accomplished before, it can be frustrating. And what I want you to know is that when these things show up, that it is potentially, I can't guarantee because I don't know you, I don't know what you're going through, but potentially, based off of my experience with clients, a sign that this may be coming up for you, right? So, here's what I want us to really delve into today because it's going to be fairly simple, but just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. It is pretty straightforward, but again, depending on what's been going on for you, there may be layers to it. So, chances are, if you're noticing any of what I just described, that you are acting or stuck in a reactionary mode. And in sports, what that looks like is on being on the defensive, right? Playing defense as opposed to playing offense. Now, as far as I know, and I'm not the biggest sports enthusiast, but from what I understand and based off of my experience, even in competitive athletes, I was a competitive gymnast when I was a teen. Most of the time, the greatest players, the greatest teams, they don't win consistently by playing defense. Now, you have to have a good defensive game, but you win when you are being in the offensive position. When we are stuck in reactionary mode in life, in your business, in your wealth, in your health, in your relationship, so in whatever area that you're looking for better results in, and for most of my clients, they're coming to me to get help with their business and ultimately to build their wealth, to have more riches in their life, right? That you can't do that if you're constantly behind the eight ball and you're the one that's being poked and prodded and triggered into a reaction. That's what I mean by approaching life from a reactionary mode. Okay. So I just realized that I'm trying to have my YouTube game a little up leveled here. So I'm using all of my little widgets here. And I have my notes here. So the best way for you to get more of what you want without sacrificing what you have is to be proactive. Now, I want you to think for yourself right now. Think about the last day, 2 days, even the last week. How much of your time was spent being proactive versus being reactive? How much of your effort and your energy and the tasks and the actions that you were taking were from a proactive perspective or lens versus reactive or reactionary, where life was happening to you as opposed to for you, where you were in control, where you were the one that was pressing the buttons and making sure that the things that you needed to get done were actually getting done. And again, as you're doing this kind of internal assessment, there's no shame, there's no blame. It is simply an opportunity for you to get curious, an opportunity for you to be introspective and to reflect, and for you to really honestly assess where you're at. Because if you don't know where you're at, you don't know where you're going. And at least you don't, like, that's not going to be an accurate mapping. Like, if you were to tell your phone, Google, whatever, to say, hey, I want to get to New York City as an example, but you never input or it doesn't know where you're starting from, that route is going to be all kinds of convoluted. So, how could you expect to get what you want without first knowing where you are? Okay. And oftentimes we do that because we don't have an opportunity to just stop and sit with, here's where I am, and here's what that means, and how do I need to make adjustments based off of what I've just learned in this moment, such that I can make the end goal still be the end goal. And do I even want the end goal anymore? And it's okay if you need to make adjustments. I fully expect and anticipate that you will. But too often, what ends up happening is that we're so tight-handed, right? We're so controlled to what it is that we think that the outcome needs to be or look like, and the route by which we're going to get there, that if it doesn't look exactly like this, that it becomes very like icky. It becomes like something that you're judging yourself about because maybe you thought you needed to know how to do every single piece of that plan. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how much of your life, how much of your business, how much of your wealth is being done from a place of proactivity, a place of, this is what I planned for, and I am taking the steps necessary to move that plan forward, recognizing that life is random, that I don't control all the things that are happening all around me inside of this universe called Earth, and that by and large, the only thing that I can control is me and the actions that I take, and everything that it takes to actually get those actions in place. So if we stop playing defense, if we stop being reactionary, if we stop just reacting to everything that comes at us and then responding to life, responding to requests, responding to people doing this or this, that's a very chaotic way to run your life and your business. And ultimately, it gives you no freedom and it gives you no peace of mind. So if you feel stuck, if you feel trapped, if you feel unable to move forward, then this might be the reason why. If you are unable to act on your dreams or desires, even though you have a plan, even though you have set goals, and yet they're not coming to fruition, or it's not happening as quickly as you would like, I want you to identify for yourself how much of your time, how much of your efforts, how much of your energy and your focus is actually being spent on you reacting to the things around you, you being in a reactionary mode the majority of the time? Or are you being proactive? Are you looking at, here's where I am, and this requires you to engage with like the place that you are in, right? This is not something where you can, in theory, just write out your plan and then just go and execute it without really any rhyme or reason and without assessing as you go along. Because here's the thing, as you start to take action, you will need to assess, is it getting me the result that I desire for that specific action? So let me give you an example. Let's use sales because that's one of my backgrounds, right? And something that I've helped clients with. So if you set up a sales process, a sales system, because you're implementing a sales strategy, let's say that you want to get more clients. And one of the ways that you're going to get more clients is by engaging them in some sort of conversation. Now, this could be on the phone, it could be on a Zoom, it could be through a DM conversation, it could be through an email. The mechanism is not super critical, right? Because depending on how you set up your business, all of them work. You could be selling from the stage, you could be using a podcast, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that conversation looks like. As long as you're having some sort of interaction with somebody that is going to then, at the end of that interaction, say, yes, I want to buy, and they're going to go ahead and give you money, and they're going to become a client. So if you want to get more clients, and you know that your mechanism, your sales process from here to here, that the last step that they would need to take before they made a purchase from you is that they're going to have some sort of interaction with you, right? Some sort of conversation. And so that conversation is going to be really, really important for you to monitor how many conversations am I getting in order to decide how many clients can I get from that. And if your conversion rates are above standard, which most standard conversions are if you're having some sort of live interaction with somebody, whether it's you or a salesperson or somebody on your team, it's going to be about 10 to 20%. That means for every 10 conversations that you have, you're going to have one or two of those people say yes and sign on to work with you. So if that's the case, then there's a few things that you can do, right? You can either improve your sales process so that you get better quality people that are having those conversations with you, or you improve the conversation that you're having with them so that you have more people saying yes and fewer people saying no. So if you're right now only getting one or two yeses, imagine if you could identify and be proactive about producing a conversation or helping people make decisions, not pressuring them, not intimidating them, not trying to influence them, but honest to God, just helping people to identify, hey, can I help you? Are you the right person? Are you the right fit? And what are the kinds of questions? And this is something that I teach inside of my Sell with More Ease program in order to help people to identify, am I the best fit for what it is that you have to offer? And if yes, great, go on and buy. And if not, no, identify them early on so that you're not spending all of your time and your effort. And again, you're the one being proactive and saying, hey, I don't think this is a fit. And here's the reasons why. And here's some other resources that might be most appropriate for you so that you can still help and serve them, but you're also serving yourself, right? So that way, then you have more time, more effort, more energy, more resources available to go ahead and find those dream fit clients. So you're being proactive here. You're not waiting, hoping and praying and wishing that clients will suddenly just fall in your lap. You are reverse engineering with a very different perspective than somebody who's just being reactionary, somebody who is just hoping and praying and just wondering where are the clients going to come from. If you know that your clients are coming from some sort of deep dive conversation, whether it's email, whether it's DMs, whether it's text messages, whether it's a referral, whether it's an actual conversation that you've booked on your calendar, that regardless of what the mechanism is, you know that that is the trigger. And if that is the case, then you are proactively going and looking for opportunities and putting actions in place so that you can build up that activity. Right? As opposed to just waiting. I wonder if clients are going to reach out to me. I wonder if people are going to book on my calendar. I wonder if this is going to happen. And that is a very reactionary sort of thing. And that means that if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, you don't control what other people do. You only control what you do. And so when you're proactive and identifying, here's the action that I need to take because I know that this is going to connect to the goal that I have, then you are in charge of taking that action. So as you go through, and let's say you're creating content to invite people to now work with you. Let's say you're inviting people to book a call with you. Let's say the call to actions on your emails or a podcast guest episode that you are on invites people to connect or to reach out in order to get booked on your calendar or to send you a message so that you can assess and determine whether or not you can truly help them. You're in charge of that action. You're proactively going out and saying, here are some of the things I know gets people to do what I want, which is they identify and put up their hand that I need your help. And as a result, I'm going to take the action step. That's your activity. Now, if you notice that, hey, I've done 10 calls to action and they're all to get people on my calendar. They're all to invite people to work with me at a deeper capacity. They're all inviting people to purchase from me and it's not working. Then you proactively identify that so that you can make a different action, right? As opposed to just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then just being very reactionary. Because a lot of times in life, what ends up happening is that we're so busy putting out all these fires, right? That life is just happening to you because it's just one thing after another, after another, after another, and you're busier and busier and busier and busier. And yet it doesn't seem like you're getting more of what it is that you truly want and desire. I would want you to stop and just take a moment, just take a pause to see, am I being proactive or am I being reactive? Am I getting more of what I want or am I getting less of what I want? Do I have a plan and am I taking the steps necessary to follow that plan because I have made it a priority? Have I created boundaries such that if something was to come up, I know where my lines are drawn in the sand? Now, again, I know life happens. I know that there's sometimes those things that are outside of our control and outside of our circumstances, and that we cannot always account for that. But if you follow these guidelines that I've shared with you, these strategies that I've shared with you, then you are more than likely going to be spending the bulk of your time being proactive as opposed to reactive or in that reactionary mode. And as a result, you will likely see better results without having to sacrifice, because oftentimes those trade-offs, and we talked about this on a previous video, go and watch the one that's all about how to get better results, because there are always trade-offs. But if we're not in the driver's seat, if we're not controlling our actions, then somebody else is. And that's often what ends up happening when we feel like we're being spun around or we simply can't get to where we want to get to. So being proactive means that you have a plan, that you are following your plan. Now, this does not mean that you are just so rigid and so tightly controlled to it that you can't have some flexibility. That's why I gave you the example, right? The second piece is you have to have boundaries, because without boundaries, you're just going to go willy-nilly. And then you're going to fall into that trap of being reactionary because other people's priorities are now going to become yours, even though they very much aren't. You don't react then. Like when you do number one and number two, you're proactive because you have a plan and you're following the plan. And then you have boundaries, which are your guardrails to kind of keep you on track. Then you don't end up reacting. You don't need to be in reactionary mode, because when things happen and you recognize, hey, this doesn't have anything to do with me. This doesn't have anything to do with my plan. This doesn't affect me. This doesn't help me to get closer to my goals. You can let it go. You don't have to necessarily allow it to interfere with what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt, because I recognize I'm a mom, I have a dog, I am a daughter, I am a sister. So we have all of these competing priorities in our life that will overlap. So I'm not saying ignore your family, ignore your friends, ignore yourself. I'm saying that you are in the driver's seat and you have ultimate control over what it is that you do or don't do. And then the last piece of this is, as you take steps forward, as you're making forward progress and you continue to go up and up and up and up and up, that you see everything as data, as information that will inform how you need to keep moving forward. So again, I gave you an example of what you would do kind of on the fly in the moment, because even though you have a plan, even though you're following the plan, we don't want to get so like tunnel visioned into here's what I planned, that we can't account for the miraculous, that we can't account for the divine synchronicities, that we can't account for things that happen as we just go forward that could shortcut your timeline, that could make things way faster or simpler. AI is a perfect example of this. What is it now? 2 years ago, uh, there certainly wasn't the exploding amount of AI tools and resources as there are today, which means that if you're not incorporating AI in some form or fashion into your business, that chances are you are missing out on an opportunity to improve, to shortcut, to give yourself some time and freedom back, and do it in a way that is still authentic and aligned to you, right? We don't have to go throw baby out with the bathwater, but there are certainly ways to do it while it's in integrity, while it is still supportive, and while it's still safe to do so. So 2 years ago, a lot of the work that you may have spent hours and hours and hours doing in your business can now be easily supported through technology and tools, new technology and tools. And so if we allowed ourselves to say no, 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 like think of the opportunity that you might be missing out on simply because you haven't been able to allow that new information, that new data to help inform the choices that you make at every step as you move forward, right? So that's really what we want to do. If this was helpful for you, do me a favor and make sure that you hit the like, subscribe, and hit the bell to notify every time we go live or a new video drops. If you want my help, if you would like to understand how to achieve your first or next six figures inside of your business, go and grab my free resource. It's over at susanmcveigh.com/blueprint. And it is the exact strategy that took me from 0 to 6 figures in my first 6 months online. And it is the exact same strategies that clients have used to accomplish their 6, 7, and 8 figures in their online business. If you want to grow your wealth and build a foundation to millions, it's the exact thing that I've used and taught my clients over and over again, over 2 decades now. Get your copy of my ABCs to Building Wealth ebook, and you can get that at susanmcveigh.com/wealth. So I hope this was helpful. Actually, let me just put that up. And if you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the comments below. It helps me to help you better by giving you the content that you're looking for, right? So with that, I hope you have an amazing day. Make sure that you grab that free resource if you haven't already. And let me know in the comments before we end. Let's see, what did we talk about today? How to get more of what you want. I want you to identify what is it that you are going to do as a result of watching this. So let's make this super simple. What do you want? What do you want more of? And it could be more time. It could be more clients. It could be more money. It could be more freedom. It could be more, experts in your team. It could be anything. Just think of one simple thing that you currently are working towards and write it down in the comments, because you never know. Somebody might be looking for the very thing that you offer. Somebody might be able to help you with what it is that you're looking at getting more of. There is power in our intentions and in our words. And when we set that out into the universe, the miraculous can definitely occur. So I am a big believer in that. I have been a big receiver of that. And I want you to participate and see if there is a way for you to basically pay it forward. So with that, we will talk to you very soon. Bye bye.